episode 55 of Destination Talk. I'm John Paz.
And I am Harry, and we are coming to you once again from Stellar 19 Studios, located at 750 Route 34 in Matawan, New Jersey. Shout out to our show sponsor, the Academy in Garwood. To check out their website, you can go to academysportsnj.com. And to our newest sponsor, who John will introduce.
Yes, Wrestling Hub. It is a centralized network to help coaches promote their clinics, private lessons, camps, and for kids and parents to find these opportunities. You can find them on Instagram at wrestlinghub.official.
Looking forward to working with them as we move forward here on Destination Talk. Today, we are honored, and we welcome to our show to have Jaivon Jones from the University of Arkansas Little Rock. He is a wrestler at that school. Jaivon, how are you doing today? Welcome to Destination Talk. Thank you for taking some time and joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. Yeah.
How's everything going?
Good. Just getting freestyle training, took a little bit of time off. I've been off for this is my second week. A little weird being off the mat and everything, but time needed, you gotta let the body heal up.
Absolutely. Recovery is important. So For our audience who may not know who Jaivon is, can you give us a little bit of a background on where you're from and a little bit about some information about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up like right around as a kid. When I was a little kid, I grew up in Elyria, and then I moved quite a bit as I got older. I moved to North Olmsted for middle school, and then when I was in high school, I actually kind of crazy is that I've been to 4 high schools. Kind of had some unfortunate situations, so I've been to a few high schools. I ended up going from Elyria to Garfield Heights to Shaker Heights, where I spent most of my high school career at, and then I transferred to Nordonia for my senior year. So yeah, I wrestled since I was 4.5. I'm 24 now, so about 20 years. But yeah, uh, in Ohio, I qualified for state twice. In college, I ended up going to Northern Illinois University for the first part of my career, and then for the last little bit, I decided to transfer to University of Arkansas Little Rock.
Awesome. In your early years, what did wrestling give you that no other sport could have? Did you play any other sports growing up?
Yeah. As a kid, I played football, baseball. I was a really high energy kid. So as a youngin, I kind of like my mom was like keeping me in the house was like kind of hard because it's like, all right, you're gonna break something, so I might as well just like let you go outside. And then all of a sudden, it was like my dad wrestled when he was in high school, so he was like, all right, he introduced me to wrestling, and then I kind of just clicked. But it didn't click for me that I really wanted to wrestle until I was probably in about fifth, sixth grade, and that was like I was a little kid. I kind of was a little chunkier, So when I got about fifth, sixth grade, I started like kind of eating healthier and taking care of my body a little bit better. And then I was like, wow, I really like it. And then by the time I was probably in eighth grade, it was one of those big things for me. It just kind of was like something like you go through the seasons. I'd play football, then I'd wrestle, then I'd play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to eighth grade, and I remember I just played football, and then I wrestled, and then baseball season came around, and I started to, and then I was just like, I really didn't want to, so I just went back. I was able to wrestle. That's when I started wrestling like freestyle because I didn't want to. I wanted to get good. There's a guy I think Dylan Shaver. So like I grew up with him. So like he was getting good when we were like kids. Him, Mick Burnett, a lot of those guys were getting really good, and I was like, man, I want to be really good too. So I had to start doing some summer training.
Yeah, Shelver was my teammate. I actually lived with him for a year or two.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
it's a small world, this thing we do here.
Yeah, the wrestling world is very small but large.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Small but large.
Yeah.
But even this platform, we've come to find out there's some things and people we know that we didn't realize we did.
Yeah. So, at what point did you really realize in high school that I want to go wrestle in college? I want to take this to the next level.
I remember I was 12 when I wrote down my goals, and then that I wanted to be a 4-time state champ in high school. I never won state, and then in college I wanted to be a national champ, and then internationally I wanted to be a world and Olympic champ. So when I was probably 12 is when I first realized it, and then by the time I was about 14, 15, I realized that it was like there was so much more to it than at that moment that what I was giving, in a sense. Like I work hard, but it was like it was going to take everything I had. I was blessed to be able to see like Logan Sieber and those guys, a lot of them, because he would work with Eric Burnett a lot. And so when I was a kid, that was where I was at. And so Logan was already in college, but everybody, his national title, like banners were all at Burnett's camps. Like
Mhm.
all of his brackets and everything were there. So like I could see it like every time I go to camp, I'm like seeing this bracket. I'm like, man, I want one of those. And the amount of hours and work it's gonna take to get there is like you start kind of realizing it. But I had like Danny Mitchell and Eric Burnett and Jack Gillespie and all those guys that when I was a kid they were really big and changing, helping me develop in the way I thought. And then as I got older, I had Adam Kabbalah, Will Knight. Some of my teammates were just really good. Farouk Muhammad, Jackie Frazier. And then my senior year, like my coach, Jason Walters, they changed the way I thought about it. So I knew I could wrestle in college, but it was a matter of like with them, how do I make myself understand what it's going to really take to be able to wrestle in college and not just get there. So I mean, I think I've always known that I could do it. It's just a matter of realizing what it was going to take for me.
Mhm.
You had mentioned earlier you played other sports, football and baseball, along with the wrestling. What was there one? Is there one element of the sport of wrestling that just stood out to you that said, "I want to do this more than the other two sports"?
I wanted to play football first, At first, I really wanted to be a football. I wanted to go to NFL and everything, but I realized with my size and stuff, and I got older, and I remember transferring schools when I was in middle school, and I kind of had a situation where the coaches weren't really playing me like that. I thought I was better to be able to play, but excuse me, the way they wanted to run the team, it was like I just didn't fit, So I remember I got to eighth grade, and I kind of thought, man, what if I just focus all in on wrestling? And then I got to freshman year, and I had an unfortunate situation. My dad had a brain aneurysm, right? So I had to transfer schools, and I remember being like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go play football, and then I'll wrestle." And then I got there, and I was like, "I don't even want to play football. I just want to wrestle." And it just was something for me. I remember praying on it and thinking, "Man, do I really just want to go all in on this?" And I did, and it was the fact that I could be wrestling was the way that I feel like me and my dad could talk without always having to talk. And then on top of that, it was a sport where I didn't have to rely on anybody else. It was something about it. Like it was just me. I could go out there and essentially the mat is my art and I can just draw whatever I want. They can help me direct me through it, but they don't really out there. They can't make me do this or tell me to do this. I can go and create whatever picture I want. I can enjoy it's a place where it's just like, I feel like it's a one of a kind sport. Like you have other individual sports like boxing and whatnot, where in tennis, but ultimately there's somebody else that's like controlling certain parts of that. There's an outside factor. It's not just you or like a racket mishappens or not.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Wrestling's like just strictly you. Like boxing is a one-on-one sport, but then there's somebody else judging of what a punch, like if I hit you in the face 3 times, like what that punch could do to you or doesn't do to you. Wrestling's like there's a defined you do this, there's this that happens from it. You do that, this happens from it. Like there's a definitive answers to it to certain things. So that was something that I really liked about it. That it was just me, and I get to go enjoy myself and do me.
I
Mhm.
like your point, and we've talked about this before.
Mhm.
Wrestling, I didn't wrestle, Javon. I was a baseball player, so I
Okay.
wanted, but I've come to learn a lot about the sport, especially having worked with John for quite a few years in his journey through Rutgers. But it's an individual team sport,
Yeah.
and I found that to be extremely unique. And
Yeah.
one of our guests back, like episode 2, if we go all the way back to 2,
Mhm.
we had Yara Slavakovsky, who
Okay.
transferred to Rutgers at that time from Harvard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the question that I had posed to both John and Yara that day was, being 197 in heavyweight, it's an individual sport, but a lot of times you're one of the last guys to wrestle, so that your results could be dependent on the team. And then there's also you could win your match and all your teammates lose, but you still go home sort of feeling good about yourself because
Yeah.
you won.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unique aspect about that sport.
Yeah. Definitely. that feeling is, I've seen it happen a lot. Like, you be the last match of a duel, and you're deciding factor if they win or lose, and it's like, in that moment you think it's like, man, if I win this, we're gonna win.
Right.
If I lose this, we're gonna lose. And I'm like, I've been on both sides of that, and I'm like, that feeling is, or you have the opportunity to change the momentum of a match, of a not a match, of a dual meet. And not
Mhm.
a lot of sports can say they have that. Like I feel like basketball, like the playoffs going right now, your whole team has to be in rhythm to change the momentum of it. Like wrestling's that one where it's like, you go out there and you can change the momentum of something, just you. And I really like that aspect of it.
So, when going from high school to college, what would you have like a defining moment where it's like mentally or physically, where you're like, oh, this is college wrestling? What is that defining moment for you?
Crazy thing, one of my close friends, Caleb Brooks. I remember I got there. And, you get in. They're like, you go a few practices and then you go live, right? So I remember
Mhm.
first few days, we're about 3 days in, and I remember we went live, and he 80 balled me. Like, I remember he put up 80 points. Like, it was, I think he got like a couple takedowns and turned me. Like, I was like, wow. Like, he just left and right. Any turn he was thinking about hitting, he was hitting. Jeez, man, like, am I that bad, or like, what's going on? And that was my first moment where I was like, all right, y'all, this is cool, but we gotta get to work. Like, we gonna figure this out, but it's gonna take some adjustments. You're gonna have to be willing to change some things. And I was like, all right, let's go. Let's do the work.
Mhm.
So if you go back to that moment, Javon, and then also look at your career to where you're at right now,
Yeah.
and so that's having worked with athletes myself for the last 16 years. I think that the challenge that I find is trying to convey that message to these kids that high school is very different than college,
For sure.
regardless of the sport. But everyone thinks, because they see the bright lights and the bling and all that stuff,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's just easy, and they don't understand. So, if you were talking to a group of, say, high school juniors or seniors who are probably going to go to college and play a sport, regardless of the level,
Yeah.
what message are you giving them?
Keep the main thing the main thing, That's what I remember. That was a big thing for me when I was coming into college, was keep the main thing the main thing. I had a coach, Will Knight, tell me, he was like, you can have two of the three things you want, right? You can have all the friends, you can have the wrestling, or you can have the school. But you can't have all three, because they all require different pieces of you, and one is going to require something they both do. You can have friends, but you can't have all the friends. You can have the school, that's good, that everything works for you, and you can have the wrestling, but you can't get all three like that. So if I was telling somebody from high school, I would just tell them, focus on the process of it, because everything, the moments of winning and losing, are going to go and come and go so fast. They always do. You're going to get out there, you're going to win, you're going to lose, and then the work's going to have to happen the next day and the next day. And so focus on the process and try to be in the moment. That was something that I think I struggled with. I still struggle with it to this day, and I think this year I really was able to do a lot better than I have in the past in my career, of being in the moment, and then focusing on the process was something I did really well with, but I was never in the moment with the process. I was always thinking about too much more.
Mhm.
So I think, as a high school kid, I would tell them, focus on the process, be in the moment, and just keep working. You keep working, your day's gonna come. Your day's gonna come. I don't know when. I have a trainer named Josh Bland tell me, he was like, we always talk about, like, when means what's important now. And so for me, in a sense, it's like, I can tell somebody, I know you're going to win, but I don't know when exactly. You know, so that's a really big thing for me. Is just focusing on being in the moment. So I would tell them, be where your feet are with it. It's a journey. It's a marathon. College sports is an exhausting, but an exhausting and unforgiving setting. But at the same time, you'll be so glad when you get done with it. Because you'll look back and be like, you realize how hard you can push yourself. And I think that's just in any sport. I think wrestling is probably one of the harder sports, because there's so many intricacies of it that
Right.
it takes to get there. But I think, realistically, you'll be grateful that you went through with college sports.
I think what I take from that is just, and it's something I've been told when I feel a sense of being overwhelmed with a lot going on, is just be present.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
definitely.
be present in the moment, because yesterday is yesterday and tomorrow hasn't happened,
Yeah,
or even 10 minutes from now hasn't happened. So
yeah,
just control what's in front of you in that
yeah,
exact moment.
Another
yeah.
thing Joe's going to say, what did you hear that he said that we've also heard before?
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I chuckled as well internally, because one of our previous guests, Jaivon, was Sam Kamara, who you
Yeah.
may or may not know, because he's currently on the Cleveland Browns and has been there now for, I think this is his 4th year.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so if, I don't know if you're a Browns fan being from
Yeah.
Cleveland, but he wears number 92. He's on your
Okay.
team. So
Yeah.
he sat in this studio with us, and I actually
Cool.
trained him for a couple of years. So it was
Okay.
a pleasure to get to know him and meet him. A wonderful person, wonderful family, but that was his thing. Keep
Yeah.
the main thing. The main thing was his big tagline that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think some people I think there's a lot of times where athletes go wrong because you get up to that level. You know, like you reach college and you think, wow, this like it's so cool. Everything, all the gear, all the everything that comes with it, the fun. Everybody, people know you now. Like, but then when you lose sidetrack of the fact that what you went there for. You know, and now I mean now more than ever, I think college sports is a business. So you get there and people are like, well, like I can just have do this and do that. Like it's not a little game anymore. You know, it's a business, and so you got to go in there and be ready to do your job every day. You know, and that means sometimes your job might look different than what you thought it would, and you got to be willing to make those adjustments. You know, with it.
Can you talk a little bit about your recruiting process and how you got to, was it Northern Illinois, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And then how you ended up getting to Arkansas?
Crazy thing is, yeah, it's a kind of crazy story. So, let's see where I started. Junior year, I placed at state. I took fifth. I beat a couple solid, really good guys at that time. Like Jordan Roselli, Lou Roselli's son, and a few other guys that I had beaten that bracket that were pretty good. And I didn't. They didn't. I don't think nobody really had me placing, and I did. And then the following year, my senior year, I transferred. So now kind of picked be to place, but not really win it. But my senior year, I was undefeated the whole season up until the state tournament. I hadn't had a match anybody within really 2 points at me all season long. And so I had this conversation with my head coach, Jason Walters, at the time, because his son worked at West Virginia. So I went to work out at the RTC, you know, a couple times, and I really liked it. But we had this conversation of like, all right, Jay, how about we don't, like, I didn't really want to have to worry about any of the college stuff until I got done. So he would tell coaches, hey, he's not really about to do any of the visits or anything until his season's done. Like, after state title, talk to him. But right now, he don't want to talk. And so I was cool with that. So I just went through the process and I was just focused on training. I ultimately didn't win state. I actually lost first round at state and then took sixth. I didn't really have a great 3 days of wrestling. I struggled in the first round of tournaments or of state tournament, and I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, it's sometimes at big tournaments, the first round is always just my toughest match for me. But yeah, the process of after I didn't win state, part of me thought I was like, man, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna be able to wrestle in college. You know, I don't think anybody's gonna come and get me. But then I had a good amount of schools reach out. Uh, Adam Kabbalah actually. There was a day where he put me through a workout. Like I went in to practice and it was just me, Dylan Fishback, and a couple other guys in there. And I pretty much was like, how do you describe this? Like I was the guy in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just kept coming. They just kept switching out in on me. Like we would go live and do whatever position I wanted. If it was top, bottom, it was neutral, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Like shark bait, you were the bait.
Yeah, yeah, like shark bait. And I literally got killed that day. Like I remember I walked out the wrestling room with my shoes on, left. I was so mad. I was like, I'm done. I hate this. Like I can't take it anymore. And I remember Dylan Fishback's dad saying to me when I came back in the room, he goes, SMSB. And at that time I didn't know what it meant. And it meant strong mind, strong body. And so when I approached things differently after that, he Adam decided that he was all right, you're gonna go to NHSCA Nationals. And I was like, fine. So I go, and then I beat a couple really good kids that I didn't know at the time, and I ended up taking seventh there. I was in the quarters, and I ended up losing to not sure the kid's name, but he ended up going to like Braden Palmer was his name. Ended up going to
Mhm.
like Chattanooga or something, and I beat him, or no, he beat me in the quarters, and then I ended up coming back and taking 7. And that was like a changing moment for me. And I remember I talked to a few schools. I was talking to Cumberland, which is an NAIA school, and then NIU became a school that I talked to. And then after that, I took my visit to NIU about a week and a half later, and boom, I remember I went there. I climbed. They have this long rope in the room, and I remember I climbed up to the top, and I was like, "If this is hard, I think I'm gonna try to sign right now." And I climbed up and come back down. I'm like, "All right, I like it," because it was like, it was just something about the way I thought about it. The rope, I was like, "Man, if I get to climb this every day, man, I'm gonna be able to climb my goals like this too." And then I remember I went home. I told my mom about it, and then actually, I had already took my visit to West Virginia like I wanted. I took a visit to Cumberland already, and I was thinking, I was like, man, I got to figure this out because I don't know where I'm going to go. So I went into my advisor's office, like my school advisor's office, and I set up a hat, like a little bowl, and I wrote names down on each one, like a couple pieces, like 3 pieces of each name of each school that I wanted to go to, and put it in there and let the teachers pick for me because I couldn't figure it out. So I let them pick for me. I had done a pros and cons sheet like Adam told me to do, everything that I could that possibly like figure this out, and I still just emotionally couldn't figure it out. So I let them pick, and then I remember the first one was NIU, and I was like, okay, cool. The second one was Cumberland, and I was like, all right, I don't know about this. And then I did another one. It came down. It was West Virginia, and the next two, it was like NIU, and I was like, all right, fine. I called Coach Ludwig right then and there, and I was like, I'm committing right now. I didn't go home and do it. My mom was like, you did what? I was like, yeah. She was kind of upset, but she was okay with it because she had already looked at all the numbers for the scholarship stuff, so she was okay with it. But at the same time, it was kind of like you didn't want to come home and tell me before you did it. It's kind of like my teachers were actually my advisor. She was like, "You did not just do that," and I was like, I did. I had to get this over with emotionally. I was like, "There's no turning back. I don't. I just wanted to get this decision over with for me, you know." But
Sometimes
it
it's
was fun.
easier to just ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah. But it was fun. I think the process is fun. I think the college recruiting process is a really fun experience if you allow it to be. It's very stressful, but it's a lot of fun too. You know what I mean? Like it's find out what places want you, what they're willing, like what resources they can help you with, what you can do for them. You know what I mean? It's a give take process. So you got to be willing to see things on the fly and then be like, go on visits and be like, oh, cool, I like this, and then figure out what you do and don't like. You got to be. I think a big thing is being making yourself go on visits that you don't want to go on so that way you know what you do and don't like. Because a lot of
Right.
people they're like, I know I want this. Well, yeah, you know you want this, but you don't know what this looks like on the other side. So you got to be willing to maybe take a visit. You're like, I don't know if I really want to go there, but I'm gonna be able to see what I don't really like or what I do. You know,
Hmm. And how did you ultimately end up at Little Rock?
and Little Rock. So let's see. I remember I met Coach Javi, and then I went on a visit to the OTC for a World Team Training Camp during the summer, and I met Coach Javi. And there was a lot of really good guys. I think everybody had a higher caliber than me. I was in there, but those guys all had like a reputation, like Sammy Sasso and all them. Like he had just made the U23 World. It was a lot of guys in there. I placed like at the U23 World Team Trials, but those guys were qualified for nationals already. They've already done everything I was trying to do to a certain
Hmm.
degree. So I was like, okay. I remember meeting Coach Javi. I had a friend named Josiah Hill that was at the OTC too, but he went to Little Rock at the time. And I remember I did I went in to work out, and I saw I had a needed a partner. I went with Coach Javi a little bit, and he helped me with some positions, like just little things he didn't have to do. You know, he went out his way to just like help me because he was just there. Him and other coaches that were there, they were helping me. And I remember, I was like, man, I thought about it. I was like, okay. I'm still at NIU at the time, so I'm like, I'm not really thinking about leaving. But I was like, man, he really helped me with this. They helped me with that. Like even Chance Marsteller helped me with some stuff on top, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I like these guys. You know what I mean? Like I want this more often. And so when I went back to NIU, wrestled the next season, and then I had a situation where a couple of my main coaches left. Our associate head coach Don Moyer left. He's actually the head coach of Journeyman's Wrestling Club now.
Hmm.
And then our trainer, who I'm really tight with, our trainer at the time, who I'm really tight with, Josh Blanton, he left. So at that time it was kind of like, all right. I'm thinking about it, but I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay. I stayed, and then at the end of the season that year, I just had I had got some injuries. I had like 2 knee surgeries that season, and then still wrestled through the season. And I missed qualifying for nationals by like one match for like the third time. And I was like, I think I just need to change. Like, I love NIU and everything it was for me, but at that time, I thought I needed to make a change to get where I was trying to go. So I did that. And so when I got in the portal, I kind of knew where I wanted to look at. And I remember I talked to Javi kind of pretty early, probably within the first 48 hours in the portal. I talked to Javi as he on his way to nationals. I just knew. I was like, all right, I was a grad student when I got in, so I was like, I can make this happen. We can make this happen earlier. So I talked to him, and that was the year they had like first 2 All-Americans, 5 guys qualify. Like, it was a big year, and I knew I was like, I'm going to Little Rock. Like, but I made myself take visits to places that I was like, I don't know if I'll go here, but I'm gonna take this visit. I'm gonna set this up and I'm gonna go. So I took a few visits. I took a visit to Glenville State, which I really liked. A Division II school. A couple of my friends actually ended up going there. I ended up telling them, like, I would have went there. I just knew where I wanted to really go. So
Mhm.
it was there. I took a visit to George Mason. Kind of unfortunately went there, and we weren't the communication wasn't on the same page with them. Went there on the visit, and kind of was like, the school was nice, a little bit smaller than I thought, but I just weren't really on the same page of what their plans were for me and what my plans were for me. So that wasn't going to work out. And I kind of just like after that, I forget, I took another visit to Hofstra, and that was nice. I just kind of knew where I wanted to go already, though. So when I went on my visit to Little Rock, which was my last visit, which I did on purpose because I knew if I went there first, I don't know if I would have took any other visits. I would have been like, I'm done. But that was
Mhm.
the beauty of being able to go through the recruitment process again, was where you're able to make yourself take some visits that you might do or don't want to take, and then see some things that you do and don't like, and that second time around to know where you want to land. So when I went on my visit to Little Rock, it was like this was a done deal. Like, I remember leaving the visit and thinking to myself, I have to find a way to control myself not to commit right now. Like, I remember going home, and my mom she was like, all right, give it 3 days. She has this big thing where she sometimes with a lot of things, like with important decisions, she's like, give it 3 days. And I'm like, 3 days? Like, I don't want to wait 3 days. She's like, give it 3 days. I remember I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, go through the first day. I'm like, I know I'm still going to Little Rock. I'm thinking, I did my pros and cons sheet. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, all right, I want to go. But then the next day I'm thinking, I don't know, can I make this work? Can I up and move my whole life there? And then I was like, I don't know, can I do this? Yada, yada, yada. And then that third day, I remember I got ready to think about it, and I just called coach, and I was like, I'm coming. Like, I know I'm all in, man. I remember we got on a FaceTime call, and I was on a FaceTime call with all the coaches, Coach Javi, Coach Albert, Coach Neil. Like, I knew I was in. And then Coach Schaefer at the time too. I was ready to go. And so I remember after that, I signed. I think I moved down here about 2.5 weeks later, because I was already done with school. I was in grad school. So I was like, all right, like, I moved in with somebody for like a little bit, like one of the so I could join the RTC and whatnot. And I just moved. I was like ready to go. So, but yeah, that was probably one of the that was a I feel like that was a smoother process of knowing where I wanted to go, because I knew what I was looking for when I got in the portal. I wasn't really looking for like glitz and glam. I just wanted to go to a place that I felt like I could achieve my goals, and I could be in the best position to become a better person, as a man, and then achieve my goals wrestling wise. And this was the place for me.
Mhm.
One of the topics that's really hot for us is obviously, and you touched on it, the portal and NIL and just the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
landscape of where college sports finds themselves today. Your story sounds like the portal was used to your advantage. You had it mapped
Yeah,
out, you had a vision, and you used it for positive reasons. And,
yeah,
and, I,
yeah,
and I'm sure many other athletes do the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
But you're someone who experienced it, has lived it, is right up to your eyeballs in it.
yeah, yeah.
When you look at it as a whole, like, do you have an opinion on it? How it's affected college sports, and just, we talk about loyalty here a lot. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Uh, to be honest with you, I think the portal's a really good thing if you know how to use it. I think there are some situations where guys probably should fight through and stay. but the fact that they have the ability to go in a portal every year kind of hurts that, you know? I think there may need to be a limit on it. I'm not really sure because I'm like, it's just you don't know what's going to happen with that. But at the same time, I think I think the combination of being able to go and leave every year and then all of the other factors in too, like it causes it to be a little wishy-washy with what people really feel about the portal. I think the portal isn't the problem necessarily. I think it's the fact of the outside factors that go into getting in the portal and what you can do when you get in the portal and how many times you can go in. So it causes like these issues that necessarily aren't wouldn't be there, at some
Right.
times. So
Hmm.
but personally I think I would I don't know, man. I'm indifferent. I think I've seen the portal go really well for some people, and I've seen the portal go really bad for some people. I've seen people decide to go in the portal and think it's about money, and then it not go good. And I've seen people decide to go in the portal or not decide to go to portal and it not go good because they stayed somewhere. So I think it's all and a loyalty thing. College sports is a business now, man. I don't know if loyalty is really like loyalty is huge, but it's a lot of places created as a business. I think one of the big things that Little Rock did for me was the personability of it. Like these coaches, they care about you as a human.
Mhm.
They want you to be the best person you can be. Being the best wrestler. Like a big thing when I got here was knowing who you are when you leave. So when you leave Little Rock, you know who you are. You know what I mean? You know what you stand for. You know what you're trying to do in life, and that was a big thing. So I mean, that's not to say that a lot of places don't offer that, but that was a big thing here for me. I got hurt last year. I tore my pec. So I was out for the whole year, and I thought they could have easily been like, "Well, looks like we got to move on," but they did it. They stuck with me. Had I mean, pushed me in a way mentally, physically, to the point where I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it to the season because how hard they're pushing me. I don't know
Right.
if I got to make it to the following season. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But then, as you slowly get back into wrestling, it was like, wow, this has really helped. Them pushing me so hard in my life made my wrestling that much better, and that
Mhm.
was the big thing. That was something really big for me. That was like, man, this is the place for me. The place to be is here, and I knew that. And
We've heard this same message from CJ Composto at UPenn.
Mhm.
We heard this from Julian Farber at Northern Iowa, and now we're hearing it from Jaivon, where it's just like some of these schools are just all about making you feel like you're part of that family, and they're going to
yeah,
go
yeah,
above and beyond for you.
yeah. They invite you into their home, bring you around their family, and some places don't do that. I think some places that's just how they are, and that's okay. And some people that's what they want. Some people don't. For me, it was like I got to college and thought, man, I'm just be able to go focus on the job, do the job, the task at hand. I want to focus on what I'm there to do. I'm there to win and then to leave. And you do that, but wrestling's such a you're in the fire, you're in the pit with people so much that I think at some point you end up building a relationship, regardless if you want to or not. And that's just with everybody that you're around. Like if you train with a guy 7 days a week, twice a day, you know what I mean? You're bound to end up having some type of relationship, even if you guys don't talk when you leave. You're bound to have some type of relationship, and that's just the truth of it. I think with how our sport is, but I think that you develop it. Your relationships develop over time with people just because you're around each other so often. Like the extra workouts, the weight cuts, all of it, the traveling, the training, the competing. It's a nonstop. Like even if you guys aren't close when you got there, there's a good chance you'll be close when you leave. You know what I mean? Or you'll know more about them than you really thought you would.
Well, I think what helps too is that you're all going through a very similar process,
Yeah.
and it's different for someone like myself who never wrestled to fully understand it, but the guy in the
Yeah.
locker room next to you knows exactly what you're feeling. I think that's important.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so you got the opportunity to wrestle in Cleveland this past year,
Yeah.
your hometown state. You tell us a little bit about what that experience was like, and kind of stepping on the mat, the NCAA tournament, and kind of seeing what that feels like.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it was I went to the NCAA tournament went back in 2018 when it was there in Cleveland, and I watched and thinking, man, I can get here. And I remember me and Dylan actually a few years later while we were at Midlands, it was like it was the year that he went and he medicaled the rest of it. He got a medical red shirt for that year. And I remember talking to him like, man, how like it'd be so cool if we got to wrestle in Cleveland. And I'm thinking, how are we gonna get to Cleveland, bro? We got like I got like 2 years left. You got 3 years left. Like, how are we gonna get to Cleveland? He's like, well, I might my neck is really bad. I don't know, man. I might have to figure this out. Like I might be out for the rest of the year now. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. And then all of a sudden, a year ago, I tear my pec, and I'm like, at that time, I'm thinking, oh man, this is like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And then afterwards, I'm thinking, like, eventually, you think, man, it's a blessing in disguise. Like it was for me. It was like God works in mysterious ways. I was like, wow, like the timing of it. Like I tear my pec, I'm out for 9 months, 10 months. Oh wow, I guess wow, the national tournament's in Cleveland. I'm gonna get a medical for this year, possibly. I'm gonna be able to wrestle in Cleveland. And so stepping on that mat for the first time in Cleveland this year, it was a little surreal. You don't realize I didn't realize I was in Cleveland until I look up in the rafters and I see Zydrunas Ilgauskas banner or not banner his number up there, and I'm thinking, wow, this is Cleveland. Like this is Cleveland, because the arena looks the same at just about every arena. You lay there, like you sit there and you look up, it's like nothing changes. But the first match, your nerves are like through the roof at that moment, kind of I was trying to figure out how to control them. I need to get on the mat. I was on the mat. I worked out. I thought I felt really good, but at the same time, I remember getting out there and your nerves feel shot. Like your body feels like you kind of can't get control of it yet. And I remember that first match, this year I wrestled Daniel Cardenas, really solid guy. I just, he beat me, but I felt like I wrestled. I don't know if I don't feel like I really wrestled my best yet. I feel like I was like still holding back. And then that next match, I wrestled better. I was on the backside now, so I was like, well, you got to win. If you don't win, you're done. You got to figure this out. The next match, I wrestled better, but I remember I got to the end of the match. I was like holding my breath for the whole most of the match, and I don't know why. I just kind of like another thing with my nerves, and I was up by like two takedowns, maybe three takedowns, and I was like holding my breath, and I don't know why. And I remember by the end of the match, I was like exhausted. Like this season, I had to get knee surgery done, and so I was like, man, like I was tired, my knee was hurting, and I was like, wow, like I got done with that match, but I was done for the day. And so now I just had to get my weight down and get ready for the next day. So I got my weight down, then boom, went to bed. Woke up the next morning, it was time to wrestle again. And then the second day I felt a little bit better. I think my first match I wrestled Lehigh's kid, Logan Rosinski, I think is his name.
Mhm.
And I felt really good in that match. That was one match I was like, man, I felt good, like really solid. Like leg defense was good, my shots were good, I was moving really well. And I was like, okay, cool, I feel good. Won that match. My next match was against Michigan, Cam Catcherbone. I ended up losing that match. To be honest with you, I don't really know. I still don't know how I really lost that match. The calls in that match were really, really strange. Some stalls and some situations that just didn't really make much sense. But at the end of the day, the result was it was what it was. I didn't do it at the end of the day. I didn't do enough to win that match, But at the same time, it just like in that match, it didn't feel like I was losing that match, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like the score I think ended up being like 2-0. And then my turn was over. I remember that feeling inside of I mean, it still stings. It'll probably sting for a long time, I know. Doesn't I don't let it hold me back, but at the same time I know it'll probably literally haunt me for a long time, which is it's part of the game. It's part of the game you play. It's part of the reason why you play, because you have moments where it'll stick with you forever in the best way, and then you have moments where it'll stick with you and not such a good way. So that match is one of those where it's like I know if I think I put myself in position to win that match. It just at that time it just didn't happen. So
Mhm.
kind of you live and you learn. Sometimes you fall on the sword with it, and that was one of those matches.
Wrestling is a challenging sport, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are a lot of things that you guys go through in the course of a season. Um, is there any advice you have to the younger athletes out there that are competing, or some of the tools that maybe you found that were helpful for you?
Say that one more time.
So with wrestling being such a challenging sport, both mentally and physically,
Yeah.
when you've gone through those moments, is there any advice you can offer to the younger kids out there on how to approach it, or any tools that you used that were helpful to you?
Yeah. My grandmother has been instrumental in my faith. So for me, it's really big in trusting in God's plan. I trust Him with all my heart. So I walk by faith, not by sight. So for me, it's about trusting in Him, but being willing to do the work. So I just try, like I said before, I can tell you you're gonna win, but I don't know when you're gonna win. So I focus on what's important right now and not the necessarily the winning, because when you do that, you lose sight of like your day to day because you're trying so hard to just win it. You know what I mean? So I think if I could tell a kid mentally and physically, I would say focus on the work, man. You keep doing the work and you keep your mind on straight. Your day's gonna come. I don't know when and I don't know how it's gonna come, but I know it's gonna come. You know what I mean? I think that was something that I tell my cousins now. I try to tell them like, hey, just focus on doing the work. Do the work every day. You know what I mean? You just keep doing the work and stay focused. Keep the main thing, and trust God. I mean, I think you can do whatever you set out to do. You just got to be willing to do the work and make the adjustments, though. Like consistently make the adjustments over time. And they might be sometimes some adjustments that you just really don't want to do, or some that you don't think may not work, but that might be what works for you. You know what I mean? And don't try to be nobody else. Be you. You know what I mean? I've been hearing this saying a lot. There's a million ways to the top of the mountain, but when you get there's only one view. So that's something like just seeing it, being able to understand that. Like, don't compare yourself to other people because that's a thief of joy. You know what I mean? And trying to focus on that. And so when you try to do things, just focus on you doing the work. And for me, a really big thing now is when I was younger, it was really about chasing. Like, I want to chase down this dude, chase down that dude. But now, as you get older, and then like I've heard some guys say it, like some really good guys say, like, well, once you win everything, it's like, all right, chasing down other people is great, but you still feel empty at the end of the day. Like I think Mitchell Meserbrink said it. He was like, when I chased, like he had won everything, and then he got to the point where it was like it was still like empty feeling of it, and I was like, it was about him being better, like being better than he was, not than them. Like he's not chasing down other guys in a sense; he's chasing himself down. So
Right.
that's something that really resonates. Of like, I would tell younger guys or younger people, just focus on you being your best. Give me your best, not everybody else's. My mom was actually, when I was a kid, I never understood it. She was really big with like school and whatnot, and I hated it. Like any kid I think I know of, like school was not one of those things that I was just like I just didn't look forward to it. And really big on pushing me in the classroom, like making me take the AP classes I didn't want to take. And I remember doing it, and I'm like, I hate this. Like I don't understand. Like I'm past these other ones. Like why not just let me? Like I got B's and A's. Like let me just go. But she's pushing me the same way I'm trying to push myself in wrestling. She's trying to push me. And then finally clicked when I got about halfway, about the end of my senior year of college, where I finally understood why. She didn't want she didn't want me to be like, oh, I want you to be like have A's like other people in these higher classes. Like it wasn't about that. She wanted my best. And what that meant is she was going to push me to be my best and to reach my potential. So for me now, it was about I just want my best. I don't want the guy on my left, the guy on my right. I want my best. Everything I do. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. That was something that Dom Moyer used to tell me all the time. And then finally, like really, I really understood it. There were certain things that a lot of coaches that I've been around tell me that as I got older, they really stuck. So I think for younger people, I think it was a big thing. I tell them focus on what's important right now, and then just keep doing the work, man. You know, you just keep doing the work, keep day in and day out. And then the way you do everything is the way you do everything. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. That was something that's like, it means your effort level. You can control the things you can. And that was your effort, your attitude, and then the consistency that you do it. And that's something I think you tell if a younger person does that, they can reach any level they want.
Hmm. So as we come to an end here, what is next?
Uh, Next for me, I just got done wrestling at the U.S. Open 2 weeks ago. I took eighth. not what I wanted. I thought there was a chance that I was going to get into World Team Trials to wrestle this week, but unfortunately, the situation didn't. I'm not going to be able to get in, which is part of it. I didn't qualify, so I'm not getting in. But now next for me is wrestling on the freestyle scene. Signing with RTC here, and then getting on this freestyle scene and trying to make world and Olympic teams. I've had the goal to be a world and Olympic champ since I was a little kid, so I know that it can happen. I just need to keep doing the work. Focus on the task at hand and keep doing the work every day. So that's at the end of this. Really, today is the last day I get to really relax and whatnot. Tomorrow I'll get back to training. Kind of today finish out planning out how that looks for me, for the summer. Because now that I don't have any competing, I don't compete again. I think until Bill Farrell or whatnot. So now for me, it's just about training and trying to I get into the right setup, sign, and do all those cool things.
Any thoughts on getting on an RAF card?
I mean, it'd be cool. Yeah, if they reach out, yeah, definitely would love to do that. I mean, I think it was cool. A lot of people, some guys I know, like Joey Blaze and a few other guys I know are on it, and that's really cool. But yeah, if they reach out, yeah, definitely, I would love to do it. I've actually wrestled. I think I wrestled. I wrestled Caden Henschel a couple years ago. Actually, him. I think there's some guys I knew. I knew Nathan Tomasello because he was around when I was a kid. He was in the room when I was younger. So a few of those guys, yeah, it'd be really cool. I actually seeing Nate at the Open was really cool too because it was like every time I see him, it's like, man, just say what's up. But yeah, I remember him when I was really really young. He was actually my favorite. He was my favorite wrestler. Truly my favorite wrestler. Him and a few other guys when I was younger. I just really wanted to go up and be like them. Yeah, but
So
I
Jay,
definitely love it.
Jay, our final question that I have for you is, if there's someone out there listening to this podcast that maybe feels like they're being overlooked or forgotten in their sport,
Yeah,
what message would you give to them?
tell yourself the truth. Focus on where your weak areas. What do you need to get better at? And then just focus on doing the work day in and day out. Neil actually is really big on that for me. It's a lot of times I make a lot of progress. It's the first time I placed at the U.S. Open, and in my mind, I'm like, it still wasn't enough. But at the same time, it's like you got to tell yourself the truth. What's the progress you're really making, and what is the work you're really doing, and what do you really need to do to get to where you're trying to reach? And so, a younger person, if they feel overlooked, it's okay. You do the work. Keep doing work day in and day out. I think Rome wasn't built in one day. So some guys, their trajectory to get to the top is fairly quick. Other guys, you got to take the stairs. It's gonna take some years of falling short, more years than you might want, less years than you might want. You know what I mean? It's just do the work. Focus on doing the work and the task at hand, and trusting in God. You can do anything. I mean, I truly believe that. Like with every fiber of my being, I believe that you do the work, trust in God, and focus on the task at hand. You'll be just fine. So, and people overlook you. I think that's somebody's got to get overlooked.
Right.
At the end of the day, like somebody's got to get. They have. They got to pick somebody. Everybody has to pick somebody that they think is going to win, and it may be you. It may not be you, but as long as you focus on you and you believe in you, I don't think you need everybody else to believe in you for you to do it. You need to believe in you. Yeah.
Well, Jay, we really want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to be a part of ours. Continued success. If we could be of any help to you on our end, promoting anything that you're a part of, we're through Destination Talk, we are thrilled to do so. And that is a wrap on episode 55 of Destination Talk with Paz and Harry. Until we see you again.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mile 21 Media.